that Make America Great Again hat, you all of a sudden are part of a tribe, part of some kind of group, right? Or almost like a us versus them. So it's like, oh, let's go attack him. I wouldn't say it's no different than back when people would attack other people because they came from different parts of the world or something like that, willy-nilly. But it's almost, you can see that similar kind of tribalism going on here.
That's what God's going to use.
Yeah, it's a stereotype. I mean, people are taking these things way too literally. It's because someone wears a hat with something on it. I mean, I wear a Wu-Tang t-shirt. Do you think I'm part of the Wu-Tang Clan? I like their music. I like what they do. I'll support them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
that exact reason, though, is part of the reason why my mindset went into why I wanted to say I didn't press charges right away. Because I wanted to try to dispel that like if I was there for hate, I would have been like, arrest those people, arrest everybody, but that's not what I wanted. What I wanted was everybody to go home and everybody to sleep in their own beds.
Wow.
And I hope to God that any of the listeners that we have watching this show, if any of y'all were involved in the harassment and the assault you placed on him, I hope to God you just heard what he just said.
Wow. Even after just the level of compassion, that's crazy. Because I don't know if I'd have that same kind of, and that's the thing. I'd be like, yo, you assaulted me for just doing nothing. Like, what the F? No, arrest this fool. You're lucky if I don't do anything myself. Are you kidding me? Like, arrest these fools. Like, what are you talking? But like to have that level of, hey man, I get it. Hope y'all are paying attention, man, because it's not a us versus them kind of mentality. We're just normal people that believe in different things. And you have to be open-minded enough to understand that we're all in this together. We are all in this together. Just because we all got to start learning that we stop looking at people as what party they belong to, what group they belong to, what ideology they believe in, or what ideology they don't believe in. And we ought to start looking at people as individuals. And that's the thing that we're missing. We're missing that human aspect of it. And part of it is the media that is beating that out of us. But a lot of it, I think, going back to the parents factor, like that's non-existent anymore. Like, we don't know how to have respect for other adults in society at large. And a lot of that, I say when you see something outside, it usually when you see a problem outside, it's usually something that stems from the home, right? So now you have a lot of kids who probably didn't have respect for their parents, or their parents not having respect for their kids, even vice versa. They go out into the world and they treat other adults the exact same way. That's not the real world. The real world is there are consequences to your actions and the things you do. And people out there are just individuals, just like you, trying to live their lives, trying to just get by.
And the fact, that level of compassion you had, Tom, I mean, that is a Christ-like, God-like quality to have. And
that really is.
A lot of people have that, and I'm a firm believer in you're going to reap what you sow. And the fact that you had compassion does not mean the next person they do it to will.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's also true.
That gives some validity to the pressing charges side that the next person could get hurt, but that's just not a road beyond.
The next person could have gotten killed. Even with we saw like with some of the George Floyd protests when that stuff was breaking out in Minneapolis, where even some of these business owners were getting beaten to a pulp. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, that could have been that realistically, that what part of me that boils my blood is like, bro, that could have easily been you. Easily, just because of a hat. And people not thinking. We have kids who are in situations they shouldn't be in, running around rah-rah, not really understanding the full context of what's going on. Just like this 17-year-old kid, now your life's over. You wanted to be a cop? Okay, it's over with. Your life's done. Why? Because you were placed in a situation you shouldn't have been in. You shouldn't have been. And I don't care for those of you guys who are on the right saying he defended himself and whatnot. Okay, whatever. But that's a gun he shouldn't have had, and he was in a place he shouldn't have been. And yes, that place was basically a war zone. And I don't know if any of y'all watched that video, but what I saw, that was a war zone. That was it.
And he was underage.
Any of y'all parents out there, any of all your parents out there listening to this, would you let your kid go into this situation armed with a dangerous weapon that they shouldn't be able to have? You even saw it there. Like, Tom, what do you even watching the way was that a picture perfect example of a responsible gun owner?
No, that's that kid.
Yeah.
That's the exact opposite of what a gun owner would do. Gun owners have to be cognizant of their every action. Gun owners have to know that if I'm going to take my gun somewhere out, I have to go out of my way to stay out of trouble. You know, if I'm going to have a beer or something, I got to keep my gun at home. You have to be cognizant of that stuff if you want to own a gun. I'm an absolute Second Amendment supporter. That's probably my strongest issue that I support.
Same here.
But as somebody who supports the Second Amendment, you got to be smart about it.
Yeah,
you got to be more responsible if you're going to carry a gun around than your average person.
You know, I've always said, you know, when it comes to being a gun owner, if you take a gun and just leave it on the table and it's not in anyone's hands and it's sitting there idle, it serves no purpose. It can't do nothing. But it's when it gets put into use, that's when the questions come into play.
That's right.
And if you don't want the government trying to force gun control, then have some yourself.
Well,
have personal responsibility.
Right. And unfortunately, with this me generation, they're going, they want to rewrite the Constitution. They want to change history to suit it to the way they like it. And I'm sorry, that's not the way history works.
Right.
No, that's not at all.
Right.
And that shouldn't have to change because of what's going on now. But people do. There is a golden saying: if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. No, that's absolutely true, man. And people don't understand. If you just read a basic history book, the number one killers of its own citizens are governments throughout history, whether it's kings and queens and monarchs or just traditional governments. The most oppressive group out there is your own government. It's just how it is. Whatever society you're under in the government, they're subject to basically, oppress you. So it's one of those things that's why the Second Amendment is so important, because it prevents things like this. And what people don't even understand, a lot of people, Americans don't understand, it's like, in terms of freedom, to whatever degree we still have it left, we're kind of like the only country that has it. Like, to the extent, right? People don't even know that if you go to places like the UK, you could be arrested. You can have the cops come to your door for saying what they consider hate speech on Facebook, on other social media platforms. People don't know that. My auntie lives in the UK. One of her neighbors got held up, and they were freaking out. Like, what the heck is going on? He hate speech on Facebook.
Yeah, that's just going to spread too. That's what you got to be worried about before they're trying to make us think it's normal right now. But I always say too is if gun control worked, it's that simple that Chicago, Illinois would be the safest place in the country to live. Hell no. No, that's that easy. There's no more argument than that.
We all know what a joke that is, and the kind of leadership that's in that city too as well. And it just goes to show you, man, what it tells. And people just pay attention. Pay attention. I'm talking about your cities and shambles and stuff like that. Who's running it? Pay attention to your leaders. You know what I'm saying? It's not just the president. The president isn't the king of everything in America. You have local state officials that also make rules and legislate rules where you live right now in this country. They're the ones who are getting away with all this nonsense. And some of them, they've been getting away for that nonsense for years. And we let it slip. And they got you all distracted blaming one person. It's not just that one person. All of your leaders have screwed up in this matter. And the
president's the ultimate scapegoat.
Ultimate.
He has basically no power whatsoever. Like, the corporations run this, the generals run that. The president's there to feed you garbage. That's the only reason he's there, and that's for both sides. I don't mean that personally as Trump. I mean that's the position of the presidency.
Absolutely. And if anything else, just based off of what you just said, Trump is literally the ideal perfect candidate for this, because he's so polarizing that he feeds the media no matter what, and he's so easy to love and easy to hate. So it's like one of those things that, if anything, I was thinking about it, if the media, let's say Trump lost, right, he was no longer the president, what would the media really have? Would the ratings be as crazy? Some of these people who got their fame from hating on this one person, where they're gonna be? You see, it's all relying on one thing. And if all of your efforts and your anger and emotion is focused on one being, that means it's a problem. That means there's something here. And like you said, Mike, you pay attention to the right hand, you don't know what the left hand's doing, right?
Yep.